I mean what I said in several contexts. It wasn't just literally see where I can, or sit where I can see you, be where I can see you. Even in the metaphorical sense. We all need a teacher to walk this path. I need a teacher. I'll be the first to admit that. There's only one being who didn't need a teacher. But the shame of it is, he couldn't find one. So he had to go and discover this all by himself. He looked, but he couldn't find one. Having failed to find a teacher, he decided that I'm going to have to do this by myself. Not out of choice, just didn't have any other choice. He had to go and do this by himself. But everyone since this unique personality, who are we talking about? The Supreme Buddha. Everyone since him in this dispensation needed a teacher. Right from Kondanya, who was the first to transform from a Pruthakjana to a Sotapanna, all the way until the last person who will attain noble attainments, who will achieve noble attainments in this dispensation. Each and every one of them will need a teacher. And I hope you realize that yourselves. If ever there comes a point where you decide, you think to yourself, I don't need a teacher, you have already lost. I will vouch for that. You have already lost. We all need a teacher. And it is a blessing to actually have a teacher. Sometimes I go up to Guru Hamdru and tell him, he being the most senior monk at the monastery, I tell him, I'm much luckier than you are. So I've told this to his face. I'm much luckier than you are. And he said, how so? I said, well, I have everything that you have and one more. I have the Dhamma just like you. Because whatever comes to your mind, you tell us, you teach us. So I have everything that comes to your mind. I have all the books to access. All the resources, they're all available to me. And all the other monks at this monastery, and the wisdom that they have is all accessible to me just as much as it is to you. But I have something that you don't have. And that is, I have a teacher. I said, hoo-hoo. So I consider myself to be luckier than he is. I think I've actually earned a lot more merit in my journey in samsara than Guru Hamdru has. To be blessed with a teacher. Of course, he does speak to us from time to time, and he consults with us when something comes to his mind. So we discuss things among ourselves. And that's not to say that he didn't have a teacher, he did. But his teacher passed away some time ago. But ever since, the Dhamma has been his teacher. But it's great to have actually a character, a strong character to be around, to guide on, or to be guided by, to lean on, to run for advice. It's a blessing. So whenever you have a teacher, try and be a person who is constantly in their line of sight. I don't mean literally, and I don't mean physically, metaphorically. Stand where your teacher can always see you. Be open with them. Don't hide your weaknesses. Every day you should wish, may my teacher see as many weaknesses as I may have. That is how you should start your day. May my teacher be able to see as many weaknesses as I may have. May he or she be able to see all of my weaknesses, such that he may guide me, such that he may correct me, such that he or she may show me the path. Because if ever the thought comes to your mind that I can now do this by myself, if ever the thought comes to your mind that I no longer need the teacher, I'm independent, you've already failed. So this is why I said, sit where I can see you, so I can catch you out when you're being mischievous. How are you going to be mischievous today? Let me hear you. Oh, right, okay. You've already planned that out. I was thinking of something else, but you've already come prepared to disappoint me. So that's the plan, is it? Sleep. I hope not. Don't succumb to that evil. It's a silent killer, sleep, just as much as time is. And the reason sleep is so detrimental to your progress is because time flies by. And you can't put yourself to any use. When's a car of use? When it's parked in the garage, locked up? No, when you're actually driving the thing, right? Anything's the same. So you're of use to yourself, not to me. You're of use to yourself when you can put your mind to use. And you can't put your mind to use when it's asleep. So I'm sorry to keep reminding this every time, but I think it's only right that I do, just in case you've forgotten. It'll come. I can guarantee that it's going to come in a few moments. Right? In 15 minutes, half an hour's time, I'll start to see a few heads nodding, even without me asking any questions. But don't succumb to it. Keep a bottle of water close by, wash your face. If you start to feel sleepy, drowsy, get up, start walking up and down. Oh, go outside, there's the washrooms onto my right hand side. Go and wash yourselves, freshen yourselves up, come back in. Just don't give up. We can't afford to give up. We can't afford to give up. How long do you think the Buddha's dispensation is going to last? How long is it going to last? 2000? You sure? Ah. How long did it last for your grandmother? 2,500 years? What good is it lasting for another 2,500 years if you're going to be dead by the end of this year? Don't let anyone fool you to think that this is going to be around for another 2,500 years. It will be. Not for me, for everybody else. I wake up every morning thinking today's my last day alive. So I know then that the Buddha's dispensation only lasts, well, it's 2:45 now. I've got about 8 hours left. About 9 hours left. At the end of the 9 hours, I'll be gone. And along with me, any hope, any chance I had of redeeming myself, because that will be the end of the Sambuddha Shasana. Not 2,500 years. Today is the last day. I want you to start feeling this, not just words, because that amounts to nothing. We can all say this, right? Time is so precious, time is ticking by. People write songs about this stuff. But I want you to start feeling this. I want you to internalize this feeling. This uncertainty that revolves around all of you. Because it's with that uncertainty, your drive and your ambition picks up a notch. You need to gear up. And to gear up, you need to remind yourself that you have very little time left. Just think for a moment, right? If you're by your father's deathbed, okay? And he's holding on to your hand and he's saying, do it, Buddha. I've only got another 2 hours. That's what the doctor, so the doctors come in, he's got his report in his hand, he says, we've just come to inform you that your father's going to pass away in the next 2 hours. These are the last 2 hours you have with him. You're holding on to his hand so dearly. This is your beloved father. Put your hand up if you're going to fall asleep in the next 2 hours. He starts talking to you. His voice is frail. You can just about make out what he's saying. He's so weak. He can't even utter the words. What he wants to say, he's finding it very difficult to get out because he's so weak, so old. Last 2 hours left. Even when what he's saying is not clear, would you not strive to try and understand what it is he's saying? Because these are the last words that he's going to utter. This is the last time you're going to hear him speak. These are the last 2 hours you can spend with him alive. After that, you see, it doesn't matter how long you're going to be around because your dad's not going to be around in 2 hours' time. But losing our fathers, we've done so many times now. I'm talking about something that is more precious than your parents. I'm talking about the Buddha's ministry. I'm talking about the Buddha's teaching. You know, it's not right really for me to tell you that you're going to be around till the end of the day. Who's given me the right to say that to you? How can I say that to you? I know I'm actually fooling you when I tell you, think that you're going to be around till the end of the day. What guarantee do I have? How do you know this is not the last 2 hours that you have? How do you know you're going to be leaving this room alive? So we need to pick up the courage. We can't rest on our laurels. We've got to be diligent. Because when time's up, I'm not going to be saying anything after that. Because then it's going to be too late for all of us. Right? So, just like you're by your father's deathbed, holding on to his hand so dearly, hoping that may he live a moment longer, 5 minutes longer. You know, that's what you'll keep asking the doctor, right? Doctor, can you get him to live maybe just 5 more minutes? What can we do? Can you put him on some drugs so he can last another 5 minutes? Doesn't matter how much it costs, I'll pay. Just give me 5 more minutes with him. But no, you've only got 2 hours. Will you not want the clock to stop? I'm talking about something that is much more dear to you, that must be much more dear to you than that. I'm talking to you about the Buddha's teaching. The only hope, the only chance we all have to redeem ourselves. So, much like you're not going to be falling asleep by your father's deathbed, I can't imagine you'll be falling asleep through the next few hours. Is that a fair assumption to make? Hopefully. Prove that I'm wrong. No, prove that I'm right. Okay. So I shan't say any more about that. Hopefully, you're inspired enough to make that decision and do something about it when sleep starts knocking on your door. I keep trying to inspire you every day. Because if you don't act through inspiration, folks, you're going to have to start to act through desperation. One of these two things will get you to start acting. Hopefully it's inspiration. Failing that, it's going to be desperation. Which one do you choose? Don't give up. So I'm informed that this is the 100th session. Which is quite a remarkable achievement. A lot of people have contributed to getting us there. And I'm only just the face of this whole project. A face that not many people have seen, and with some luck, long may that continue to be the case. A week or two before, at the end of one of these sessions, someone came up to me and they said, Swaminathan, we are so grateful that you do these sermons. We are so grateful to have received this teaching. How is it that we can pay our veneration to you? So they're holding their hands like this with the mark of veneration, and they're standing talking to me towards my left-hand side. And I said, sir, all you have to do is just turn 30 degrees to your right-hand side and just say what you just said. So they're on my left-hand side. I said, turn 30 degrees to your right-hand side. Why is that? Because that's where he who deserves praise, he who deserves the honor, rests. And we're talking about the Supreme Buddha for those of you who are listening to us online. That's where the Buddha statue is in this hall. I've only just been the face of this. There are a large number of people who have made this success. Right from spreading the word. A lot of you may be here today because you heard of this from someone else. I think this is why this event should be cherished and celebrated. Not because we've reached 100, but I think this should be a moment where we think back to who it is that helped us get here and be grateful to what they have done for us. All those people who encouraged you to be here, maybe perhaps dragged you in here. Come on, let's just try 1 week. Come on, let's just go 1 week and see how it is. Let's see how it goes. You don't have to keep coming. Just 1 week, just try it once. Hey, listen to this CD. Just see what you think. Just listen to it once. See what you think. No, I'll try later. No, okay. And they keep reminding you, keep pestering you. And then eventually you gave in because they were beginning to become a pain in the backside. Ultimately, you listened to the CD and you thought, wow, that changed my life. I think this is what this moment is about. Think back about all those people who helped you. If today you have achieved something, and I'm not necessarily talking about Margapada, I'm talking about peace of mind. If today you have achieved some peace of mind, if today you are able to withstand the storms of desire, aversion and delusion and fight back, when people come and blame you in the face, sometimes accuse you for things you haven't done, when the fires of desire arise in your heart, today the way you respond to these events is very different. I think that is what has to be celebrated. All the people who have been arranging these sessions, providing you with the transport to get here, organizing that, right up to when we started doing these sermons at Alanmatiniaram, and the monks who are resident there and who organized the facilities or arranged the facilities so that we could use them. A lot of you, that's where you started this journey. And those of you who've been helping transcribe these sermons, to get the teaching of the Buddha out to the masses, there's 8 billion people out there. As I was speaking to a group of people yesterday, I was telling them something, I'll share that with you now. As much as I struggle sometimes preaching this Dhamma in English, I prefer to preach in English than in Sinhala. And there's a reason for that. is because repaying debt towards the Sambuddha Shasana and cultivating the path to achieve my salvation have to happen hand in hand. The day that I become an Arahant is the day that I will have repaid all debts that I owe to the Buddha's ministry. Me attaining an Arahanthood cannot happen while I'm still indebted to the Buddha's ministry. So whenever I preach a sermon, I'm repaying some of the debt that I owe it. And that could, the debt that I have acquired could have come in many ways. Sometimes taking what belongs to the Buddha's ministry when it's not duly mine. A lot of people don't realize these things, right? But it's important that we talk about some of these things, at least from time to time. I remember when I was younger, whenever we used to go to the temple, it was as if it was a given. I used to walk up to the kitchen, make myself a cup of tea, right? Like it was given for granted. I took it for granted that I could just walk into the kitchen and make myself a cup of tea. It sounds so simple, right? And so, what's the word? So harmless. But I didn't realize that what I'm taking is what belongs to the Mahasangha. Something that was not given to me to take, I was taking from it. It's one thing to take it once it's given, but not when it's not given to me. So I was getting in debt, and I didn't realize this. It didn't matter that I had taken alms to the monks at the temple. That didn't matter. I was taking something that was not given to me and something that belonged to the Sangha. There may have been plenty of times in this samsara where I will have offended the noble ones, where I will have been unkind through body, speech and mind to the noble ones, where I will have slandered them, offended them and desecrated them, where I may have even myself, perhaps there may have been occasions when you wanted to go and take teaching from the Buddha, or maybe you and I, we had met in a previous time in samsara. You wanted to go to the temple and I said to you, a waste of time. Let's go to the party. Today, this is the weekend. What are you doing going to the temple? Come on, let's go to the party. I ruined your life. Whatever chance you had of delivering yourself, redeeming yourself, I took that opportunity away from you. And so what am I doing today now? I'm repaying my debts. I'm repaying my debts to you. Chances are, it was I who kept you from attaining Nirvana on many occasions before. And today I'm trying to do the opposite of that because I'm repaying my debts to you. Many times I might have prevented the Buddha or members of the Sangha from receiving alms. The Mara is famous for this. Plenty of times the Buddha's gone round on alms and the Mara goes and possesses the people in the village. And because of possession, the people don't realize that the Buddha has come into their village and we need to offer alms. And at the end of the alms round, the Buddha goes back to the temple. And Mara comes and mocks at him. That didn't go so well, did it, huh? He mocks at the Buddha. And he says, maybe you should go and try again. This time I'll let them give you food. So he's done things like that. Well, if the Mara could do things like that, well, I'm sure me having been a subject of Mara, when Mara was king of my world, today the Tathagata is my king. When I was a subject of the Mara, well, there may have been plenty of times where I will have prevented the Buddha, members of the Sangha, from receiving alms. So these are all debts that I owe the Buddha's dispensation and debts that I have to repay. So my point being, the reason I prefer to preach in English versus preaching in Sinhala is because whenever I preach a sermon, if there are people in the audience who receive the teaching and it makes a difference in their lives, it transforms their lives, It helps them become better people. It helps them to become noble people. Then I'm repaying debt. There are only 20 million people in this country. And of them, an even smaller population that actually speaks Sinhala. A good Sinhala, or at least fluent in Sinhala, and can understand when something is explained in Sinhala. But the number of people who speak English, considering the global population, is a vast majority. So compared to those people who speak in Sinhala, there's many, many more people who actually speak English throughout the world. So when I preach a sermon in English, when whoever, doesn't matter, I'm talking generally, when you preach a sermon in English, many more people are able to receive that teaching and transform their lives. And in doing so, I get to repay my debts quicker. Because the number of lives it can touch is many times more. So now think about, there'll be people among you, who help in transcribing the sermons, so we can get them out to the people in written form. There'll be those among you who help produce the CDs that we get out to people, help in doing editing the audios, getting the message across, posting on the groups, right? Whatever contribution you will have made to get the teaching of the Buddha out to the masses. This is what today is about. It's about celebrating that. It's not the fact that we have reached 100. That's not what matters. In fact, I'll be the first to remind you, let's not get carried away about the fact that we have reached 100.